Yo, what's up guys? If you've seen season 1 of His Dark Materials, you've gotten to know Farder Coram. We've gotten a look into his softer side with Serafina Pekkala, and we've seen him play a fatherly role to Lyra. So we all love him. But if you haven't read the books, you may not realize he is a legit badass.
So tomorrow we attack. In the morning we gather our best men, go in fast through the front door, take on whatever lies on the other side.
In this video, I'm going to read a passage where he's in a fight, a badass fight. It's from Book 1 of the Book of Dust series, La Belle Sauvage. That's the name of a canoe. This book was published after His Dark Materials, but chronologically, it takes place before His Dark Materials. So, effectively, it's a His Dark Materials prequel. This is the Egyptian, Farder Coram, kicking ass. And I'll say this in advance, I can't read the whole book. That's not legal. It's not ethical. But I do encourage you guys to read His Dark Materials and the Book of Dust. It's great writing. It's great writing. It's awesome. All right, so let me set this up. I'm not going to spoil anything aside from the fight. I'm not going to give you context except for the fact that Farder Coram has a really beautiful cat, right? She's called Sophonax. She's a badass in her own right. So at this point in the story, someone's been following them for about a week, and they decide it's time to put an end to that. As soon as he was in the shadows, he ran on soft feet for the large rubbish bins halfway down, almost invisible in the darkness on the right-hand side. There he crouched and reached inside the sleeve of his coat for the short, heavy stick of lignum vitae he carried along his left forearm. He knew how to use it in at least 5 lethal ways. Sophonax waited till he had the stick ready before leaping up on his shoulder, and then, after delicately testing the top of the nearest dustbin in case it was loose, she climbed up there and lay flat, staring at the entrance to the alley with her cat eyes wide. Coram watched the other end, which opened into a narrow street off office buildings. What happened next would depend on how skillfully the other man's demon could fight. They had once overpowered a Tartar and his wolf demon when they were younger, and Sophonax was afraid of nothing and swift and very strong. In a fight to the death, the great taboo against touching another person's demon didn't count for much. In fighting for their life, Sophonax had more than once had to scratch and bite with fury at the hideous touch of a stranger's hand, and then afterwards wash herself in a near frenzy to get rid of the taint. But this demon, Sophie whispered, there. Coram turned, careful and slow, and saw in silhouette against a lighted embankment the small head and hulking shoulders of a hyena. She was looking directly at them. She was a brute such as Coram had never seen, malice in every line of her, jaws that could crack bones as if they were made of pastry. She and her man were clearly trained at the business of following, because Coram was trained at the business of spotting it and admired their skill. But as Sophie remarked, it wasn't easy for such a demon to remain inconspicuous. As for what they wanted, Coram had no idea. If they wanted a fight, they'd get one. He tightened his grip on the fighting stick. Sophie readied herself to spring. The hyena demon came forward a little, emerging into a full silhouette, and the man stepped silently forward after her. Coram and Sophie both spotted the pistol in his hand the moment before he flattened himself against the wall of the alley and disappeared into the shadow. Silence, apart from the eternal drip of water from the roofs. Coram wished that Sophie had hidden behind the bin with him rather than crouching on the lid. She was too exposed. A sound like a man spinning a pip, it was a gas pistol, followed at once by a great clatter as the bullet hit the dustbin and sent it tumbling over Coram and rolling across the alley. In the same instant, Sophie leapt away and landed by Coram's side. A gas pistol wasn't accurate over a distance, but was deadly enough at close range. They'd have to neutralize it. They kept perfectly still. Slow footsteps came towards them, and they could hear the snuffling, grunting sounds of that creature and the clicking of her claws on the pavement. And then, Coram thought, now! And Sophie sprang directly at where the hyena's head would be, claws out, and the man fired the gas pistol again twice, and one bullet scorched its way across Coram's scalp. But it gave him a fix on where the man was, and he lunged forward and slashed with his stick at the darkness, connecting with something, arm, hand, shoulder, and knocking the gun away. Sophie's claws, all of them, were firmly fixed in the hyena's scalp and throat. The demon was shaking her head wildly, trying to dislodge her and smashing her against the wall and the ground again and again. Coram saw the man's shadow reach down as if to pick up the gun, and he sprang forward to lash down with the stick, but missed and slipped on the wet ground and fell at the man's feet, rolling away at once and kicking out hard towards where the gun had fallen. His foot connected with something that skittered away over the cobbles, and the man kicked him in the ribs horribly hard, and then grappled closely with him, trying for a chokehold. And he was wiry and tough, but Coram still had the stick in his hand and stabbed up with it as hard as he could into the man's midriff. A gasping cough, and the grip weakened. And then Coram felt a shock as the hyena finally managed to slam Sophie loose, tearing out a corner of her fur between those brutal teeth, and immediately fastened her massive jaws around Sophie's head. Instantly, Coram twisted upright. The man fell away, and Coram swung his arm with every gram of strength he had towards the hyena. He had no idea where he hit her, and was only concerned that he didn't fatally damage Sophie. But the blow that landed was a cruel one. He heard bones snapping and saw in the dimness Sophie trying to tear herself away from the hideous jaws. Merciless now, Coram balanced and took aim, and lashed again and again at the hyena's now broken leg. He didn't let up because the hyena had only to crush her mouth shut, and he and Sophie would die in a moment. So, as the hyena opened her great jaws to scream, Sophie twisted away and scratched at the man's hand, tearing his skin and drawing blood, even at the cost of her own disgust. And the man, crying out as the demon's pain made his own nerves throb with agony, pulled away and dragged the hyena with him. The demon snarled and snapped her jaws in a frenzy of pain and misery, and Coram would have followed them and attacked the man himself, now that they were wounded, except when he tried to stand up, he fainted and fell down again. He came to only a few moments later in a sudden silence. Apart from himself and Sophie, the alley was empty. His head was spinning. He tried to sit up, but Sophie said, "Lie down, let the blood back in your brain." "Have they gone?" "They ran away. Well, he did. He was carrying her, and she was mad with pain." "Why?" He couldn't finish, but she understood. "You've lost a lot of blood," she said. He hadn't felt much pain till she said that, but then he felt the line the bullet had made through his scalp suddenly reminding him of itself, and the warm wetness on his neck and shoulders beginning to turn cold as the fighting passion subsided, and he lay back to gather his strength. Then he sat up carefully. "You hurt bad," he said. "I would have been. If those jaws had closed, I don't think they'd ever have opened again. We should have finished them. Damn. They were good though."